It's time to break down the top 10 teams, at least outside of numbers 1 and 2. You can probably guess who those teams are, but that'll come in tomorrow's video. If you're not subscribed with notifications on, now is the time to do so, because tomorrow's video is a big one. Starting off our top 10 is the Minnesota Twins, projected to win the AL Central. The reigning AL Central champions broke one of the more embarrassing streaks in sports when they finally won a playoff series against the Blue Jays. Though they were bounced in the ALDS by the Astros, the Twins finally have reason to believe in their chances at winning it all for the first time since 1991. Stop me if you've heard this before, but they really need Byron Buxton to be healthy. He's one of the game's biggest difference makers when he takes the field. The problem is he just doesn't do that enough. I know I sound like a broken record, but when you have that level of talent who consistently misses large chunks of time, you start to get a little worried that you'll never see him realize his potential. And I speak for not just Twins fans, but all of baseball. That said, the Twins still have a very good ball club outside of Byron Buxton. Royce Lewis burst onto the playoff scene in a big way, and they still do have Carlos Correa, who, say what you will about his involvement with the Astros, is a very productive ball player, very good in the postseason, and a very good teammate. On the pitching side, Anthony DeSclafani is a nice depth piece, and the development of Joe Ryan will be interesting to watch. He struck out just under 11 batters per 9 last year and had an expected ERA of 3.53. Plus, when you have Yohan Duran in the back of your bullpen, games seem to get a little bit shorter. Fangraphs project the Twins will win 84 games, 3 less than last season. Losing Sonny Gray doesn't help the cause, but the Twins should manage to be competitive enough to win the division in 2024 yet again. Coming in at 9th is the Toronto Blue Jays, projected to tie for 3rd in the AL East. In a year that felt like a bad season based on the level of talent on the roster and expectations surrounding the club, the Blue Jays still managed to make the postseason with 89 wins, 5 more than the NL champion D-backs and 1 less than the World Series champion Texas Rangers. That has to be a very encouraging feeling going into 2024 if you're Toronto. And after down years from Alejandro Kirk and Vladimir Guerrero Jr., the Blue Jays are rightly so looking for a drastic improvement in 2024. Despite losing Matt Chapman and Brandon Belt to free agency, the Blue Jays added the likes of Justin Turner and Toronto native Joey Votto, along with re-signing Kevin Kiermaier, among a handful of other moves. I've profiled him in previous videos, but Kirk is poised for a huge bounce-back year, as is Vladdy, cover star for MLB The Show 24. Expectations for Vladdy are such that a season that saw him produce a WRC plus of 118 with a 789 OPS was considered a failure. But the same can also be said about George Springer, who produced just 2.2 wins above replacement level. On the mound for Toronto, they'll likely have the same group of guys taking the ball every 5th day, with one exception. We don't know what to make of Alek Manoah. The supposed Jays ace heading into last season was horrific on the mound, pitching to a 5.87 ERA with more than 6 walks per 9. Between injuries and starts at the Blue Jays minor league complex, Manoah went through it last season. Let's hope they're able to figure out why he was less than effective in 2023. Toronto absolutely has the star power to win the AL East, and I think they should be considered as one of the favorites, especially with Garrett Cole now set to miss extended time for the Yankees. But Fangraphs disagrees with me here, projecting 85 wins with Toronto. Again, I think it's on the low side, but you never really know. Number 8 on our list is the Philadelphia Phillies, projected to finish 2nd in the NL East. The Phillies are certainly one of the more intriguing teams to watch in 2024, partly because they've been at the forefront of the national conversation to win the World Series without being one of the consensus best teams in their division the last 2 seasons. But ask them if they care. They've bounced the Braves in back-to-back seasons where the Braves won 101 and 104 games respectively. Bryce Harper becomes the everyday first baseman, which should reduce the strain on his arm, but outside of losing Rhys Hoskins to free agency, it looks like it's the same crew running it back for Philly. Aaron Nola re-signed on a nice contract, Zach Wheeler got a nice raise, and it looks like the Phillies will be just where we think they're going to be in 2024. I really don't have much to add on the Phillies because honestly, they're a good ball club that should get just as much consideration as any of the big boys when it comes to being a World Series contender. The rotation looks almost identical, as does the bullpen. But Fangraphs has them 5 wins below where they ended the regular season in 2023. I think they'll be right around that same 90-win number, but who knows? 162 games is a lot of baseball. At number 7 on our list is the Baltimore Orioles, projected to tie for third in the AL East. From losing 110 to winning 101 in just 2 seasons, 2023 was a remarkable season for the Orioles. They have the accolades to show for it, the numbers to back up just how good they were last season, and a new ownership group that means business. They went out and got Corbin Burns from the Brewers, and it seems like things in Baltimore are on the up. But with Kyle Bradish starting the year on the IL, and John Means yet to return from Tommy John surgery, pitching depth is a bit thin for Baltimore. I'd also be surprised if the Orioles can replicate their magical 2023 campaign that saw them win the division for the first time since 2014. Of course, we can't talk about the Orioles without talking about Jackson Holliday and Colton Cowser and the ton of young prospects they have in their system. Holliday has been one of the most highly anticipated prospects in years, right up there with Gunnar Henderson, Adley Rutschman the year before. It's actually silly how good their farm system has been at producing quality young players that come up and produce right away. Don't snooze on Colton Cowser either. He's had an outstanding spring, like Holliday, and should be in the majors full-time before too long. Fangraphs is slightly less optimistic about the Orioles, projecting they'll be in that crowd with about 85 wins. I can understand that. While it's not quantifiable, the difficulty in producing day in and day out with the added weight of expectation is tough, and I'm not convinced the Orioles can be just as good as they were in 2023. But they honestly may not need to be if they're going to repeat as AL East champs. At number 6 is the Tampa Bay Rays, projected to finish second in the AL East. Stop me if you've heard this before. The Rays are going to be competitive in 2024 despite not having any sort of star power on their roster outside of Randy Arozarena. It's crazy to think that no matter who the Rays put on the field, they still find ways to win. And while they came up well short of their own expectations in the AL wildcard round, they did win 99 games. Problem was the Orioles won 101 and won the division. But the Rays are still a foundationally solid ball club capable of cobbling together a team that will win ball games. Randy Arozarena figures to be the biggest name player they'll put on the field this year, again, along with the likes of Brandon Lau and Yandy Diaz. But it's really the depth of the Rays pitching staff where they'll likely shine, and this is with a ton of different guys missing through injury. Their injury report almost resembles that of an NFL team in the final week of the season, and that's just the pitching staff. But again, whoever they put on the field just seemingly knows how to strike guys out, and I don't see why 2024 is going to be any different. Fangraphs thinks they'll be a bit worse off than they were last season, and I don't disagree entirely. 86 wins after winning 99 a season ago isn't completely unfathomable, but there's evidence to believe the Rays will do exactly what they did in 2023 again in 2024, and that's win a lot of ball games without a lot of star power. It's just what the Rays do. At number 5 is the Seattle Mariners, projected to finish second in the AL West. When the Mariners beat the Blue Jays in the 2022 wildcard round, I saw my close friend actually shed a few tears. That's how much it meant to him, to see the Mariners win a playoff game for the first time since 2001. But 2023 was not that step forward that we had all hoped for from Seattle. Robbie Ray missed most of the season and got traded after 2023. Colton Wong was ineffective and subsequently DFA'd later in the season. Jared Kelenic broke his foot kicking a cooler and he was traded. Eugenio Suarez struck out more times you can count and he was traded. Things just never really got going for Seattle until it was far too late. But for Julio Rodriguez to slump and still put up 6 wins above replacement tells me it'll all be okay. And yes, a flurry of moves in the offseason that saw Kelenic dealt to the Braves and Suarez sent to Arizona may not inspire all that much confidence in Jerry Dipoto and the front office. But with Mitch Haniger back at Seattle to go along with newly acquired Jorge Polanco, the Mariners offense looks like it'll be able to support Julio Rodriguez at the top, provided the infamous Seattle weather doesn't dampen spirits too badly. Here's where the Mariners are stronger than most: the rotation. Luis Castillo is a clear ace, but George Kirby is nothing short of a future number 1 and figures to have a big year with Seattle, along with Logan Gilbert, Bryce Miller, and Brian Wu. I'd easily take that starting 5 over most other rotations in baseball, not just the American League. With that kind of shutdown ability and the likes of Andres Munoz and Matt Brash at the back end of the bullpen, the Mariners are still right there and should be part of the national conversation. Seattle figures to win 86 games in 2024, and I think that's probably on the lower end of where they'll be when it's all said and done. Mariners fans may disagree given their history of being disappointed. This section was approved by a lifelong Mariners fan, I'll have you know, but I still think there's reason to have faith in the Great Northwest. At number 4 on the list is the New York Yankees, projected to win the AL East. I am so glad I don't post these previews before spring training starts, because if I did, then things will be very different. Garrett Cole is set to miss at least a month or two to start the year, and if I was a Yankees fan, I would be irate at Brian Cashman for not going big for Snell or Montgomery or Dylan Cease or any other pitcher on the market. With Cease being dealt to the Padres, the last major trade option for the Yankees has seemingly flown out the window. Juan Soto is obviously a huge part of what they're hoping to accomplish in 2024, but he's only one guy, and Aaron Judge isn't 100% healthy either. When he was healthy in 2023, Judge was easily one of the best in the league. 5.3 wins above replacement with a 174 WRC plus in 106 games. But that's just the problem. A player of Judge's caliber can't be missing that much time if he's one of the only contributors. For context, Juan Soto was worth 5.5 wins above replacement in 2023 with a WRC plus of 155, and he played in all 162 for San Diego. The best ability is availability, and if both guys are healthy, it's not the offense that'll prevent the evil empire from getting the Death Star back to being fully operational. Now, Garrett Cole is obviously the headliner in the rotation, but he's effectively the entire pitching staff. Now that Michael King is in San Diego, Rodon hasn't been healthy and effective at the same time, and Marcus Stroman missed a lot of time in 2023. One thing is very clear about the Yankees: these aren't your dad's or grandfather's Yankees, and they don't even look like the Yankees that I grew up disliking. I'm not sure what Fangraphs factor into their win projection models, but whatever they use, it should probably be adjusted for the Yankees. 88 wins feels like a best case scenario at this point, and I'm not sure if that factors in Garrett Cole's injury. Even so, I don't see them winning more than 85 at the most, and they won't even come close to sniffing the division if they can't add to the team they have right now. At number 3, it's the Houston Astros, projected to win the AL West. Imagine thinking 2023 was less than stellar after coming within one win of the World Series. Well, that's pretty much how the Houston Astros have been since the 2017 season. They are an absolute machine, and they look like they'll be even more dangerous in 2024. 7 straight ALCS appearances with 2 championships since 2017. While 2017 will always have that asterisk, 2022 was, as far as we know, a pretty clean display of domination. They don't have just 1 or 2 MVP caliber players in their lineup. They realistically have 4, between Altuve, Bregman, Tucker, and Alvarez. The only other teams that can really say that are the last 2 teams in this preview series, and you probably know who those are by now. Tucker, Alvarez, Bregman, and Altuve were all worth at least 4 wins above replacement. They all had a WRC plus of at least 125, and they're all part of why Houston was one of the best teams in baseball in 2023. But what do good teams do? They get even better. They went out and reacquired Justin Verlander at the deadline, gave Altuve an extension, and then added the best closer in baseball in Josh Hader. Now with a Presley Hader 1-2 punch at the back end of the bullpen, games are going to feel a lot shorter for Houston. And they already have a good starting staff led by Verlander and Framber Valdez. There's also depth, with Hunter Brown getting even better with time, Christian Javier still being incredibly talented and productive. It's ridiculous with the Astros. Fangraphs has them winning 91 games this year, and I honestly think anything above 95 is more likely for them. Assuming the likes of Altuve and Alvarez stay healthy, it should be another exciting season in Houston. Man, they're getting so good, it's boring. That's all for this one. Let me know in the comments below who you think surprised you from this last section, and make sure you drop a like if you made it this far. It helps the channel out a ton. And folks, make sure you subscribe for more, because tomorrow we're breaking down the 2 biggest juggernauts of the offseason. The Braves and the Dodgers. The consensus 1-2 punch, every season preview, every breakdown. These are the teams that come out 1 and 2. We're breaking them all down tomorrow. Thanks for watching. Tune in tomorrow. We'll see you then.